This could be true.
It could be true, right?
But the problem with it is it's very hard to verify. And the material we've put in is stuff that you really can prove. But what I feel is this, is once the Land of No Horizon is accepted and realised that we really do have a case, then these other things have more credibility. At the moment, the hollow earth theory doesn't have credibility because there's been a lot of things said that really haven't been able to be proved. What we're doing is we're trying to prove that the earth has to be hollow, it can't be anything else. Once we get the world to accept the credibility of the evidence that we're putting forward, then all these other things suddenly start to take shape, and polar holes or polar disturbances, perhaps the ocean, it may have been a huge vortex, such as happens in the Bermuda Triangle. Perhaps the hole in the North Pole is much bigger than we think, and occasionally it opens up. But we haven't put that in the book. We have mentioned the pollens and so on found in the water at the North Pole, but we haven't put it in the book because at this stage it's just a bit sketchy still, and we've only got his word for it, sort of thing. But later on, a lot of things. This will open doors to all sorts of new areas of investigation.
A few people have done research into the hollow earth. 41 years ago, a fellow by the name of Raymond Bernard, that was not his real name, talked a little bit about the hollow earth. And then he also authored a book on flying saucers that he claims too, as you do, came from the Earth's interior. So there have been some people along the history of mankind that believe that something's been going on in the hollow earth.
We're probably the first time actually put some credible scientific evidence behind this belief of the Earth being hollow. And that in the Gravity in the Earth chapter in our book, we go through gravity, we explain exactly how matter comes together to form an evolving planet. And whilst the scientific side is probably not as exciting, it is crucial because that gives credibility to everything else that we're saying. We have made the greatest miscalculation in human history when we decided that the Earth was centrally compressed and solid.
Well, I've got to tell you that if the theory's correct, and if there are inhabitants in there, and they have this incredible technology, at what point then do you think this real meshing of technologies, ideologies will occur? When will they? We've had reports.
We're getting close.
Okay.
I think we're getting close. I really think it's going to be soon because of the way the technology is advancing on the outside. It's not going to be long before we're going to laugh at the solid Earth theory. We're going to wonder how could people believe that. It won't be long. I think it's going to be very soon. Of course, that is definitely guessing, but just looking at everything and the feeling of everything, I think it's going to be very soon. We're going to come face to face with these people. So if they're listening, we're waiting.
I also think, too, as well, as our technology is advancing, we're becoming a lot smarter and we're looking at things in more detail and getting more information. And I think it's only a matter of time before we start pointing our instruments inwards so we actually really prove without a doubt that the Earth is hollow. And then once, of course, we've discovered that, it's only a matter of time before we do meet them. Because we're going to be making our way down there.
There are some who say we have captured and retrieved flying saucers, spaceships that have crashed on this planet. Might this be a strong possibility?
Yes, the problem here is, I suppose, fear by governments and cover-ups, and they don't understand what's going on. There could be also the fact of what could this be of value to them that don't release it. So I'm a bit sceptical about this too, because I think possibly there have been some things not said. That the Earth being hollow may already be known. And there's a lot of people that say there's major cover-ups. Again, this is another thing that's hard to prove, but really falls into the realms of possibility and logic that it could be. And so we could have cover-ups. But if we get enough people out there that say, we've got 6 billion people on the planet, can't we sort of put a few on one side to just do some research into the inside of our planet?
Okay, of the work that you both did into the Land of No Horizon, let's start with you, Matthew. Any one particular thing that surprised, shocked you when you were doing the work for the book?
Yeah, along the way, obviously, it wasn't a smooth ride. We had areas where we were doing lots of work and lots of research without making a lot of progress. But now and then, there's been a couple of things that have just struck us suddenly that we suddenly realised, and it's been a real eye-opening experience. And I just love those moments. One of the moments with me was when I was actually studying Jupiter. Now, Jupiter has a giant red spot, and it's a giant gas planet. And it has suddenly occurred to me what the red spot was. Now, it's been speculation for years that it may be a storm or maybe some interruption in the clouds from mountains underneath. But it suddenly occurred to me that Jupiter, just like all planets, is a hollow planet. It's just that it's made of gas. And there's a massive, I guess you'd call it like a moon or something, which is trapped within the wall, and that is causing the dust and the gases to swirl around it and causing the red spot. And this is why it's lasted for so long. And no others have formed, because it's actually a mass sitting there in the clouds, deflecting the actual clouds and the dust. And so when I actually suddenly thought of this as a possibility, that was one of those moments when I thought, wow, that's what it is. And it was so obvious when you're looking at the photographs. And I think that's one of the reasons why we'd like to do this, because we're about trying to find the truth and getting to the bottom of these mysteries. And when you finally make a discovery like that, it's fantastic, the feeling that you get. You want to share it with the world.
How about you, Kevin? What did you uncover that just amazed you?
The thing that amazed me most was how simple the answer was, how everything connected together so simply, whereas all the mathematical equations and theories put out by science were so complex and so hard to understand that you couldn't even debate them. The truth was so simple, so straightforward, and that is what everyone says to us all the time that has bought the book. This is so simple and it's so obvious that often when a solution becomes more complicated than the problem itself, it's time to have another look. So the network of way every single thing fitted together, and we found nothing that didn't fit with this, and we were looking.
The ability to find out what's going on, is anybody else doing research into this, or just a few of you?
Probably just a few. Probably just a few of us. But what we want to do is we want to get the world interested. That's what we want to do. That's the great thing about coming onto your program. And so I've never spoken to this many people before. Good day, everyone out there. But we want the world to know this. One thing I love is sharing what I've found out with other people. And the more heads that we've got looking at this, the more chance, the more ideas, the more research, the better. I think it's time, now in 2005, for us to do some serious investigation in this area. It'll benefit all of humanity. And if we find things are a little bit different, which I doubt we will, then at least we'll know that. But the thing is, I think now is the time to do this research and find out. And as I say, in the book, we do put lots of evidence to support this.
See, another thing as well, we've made lots of discoveries and we've put them all in our book. But since we've published the book, we've come across other things and we've found more leads that I'm sure lead to more things as well. And so, I mean, the book is the end result of the enthusiasm that both Dad and I have for this topic. And so, even though the book is now finished, we're not going to stop. We're continuing to do research, and we're still just as interested as ever in finding out new information.
Well, stand by, because we're going to have some phone calls for both of you when we come